Here we go. Competition is high every single day.
Let's go.
You got to stay focused on how do you improve.
And then you put it all together on a game day, and it's me versus you, and we'll see who worked harder.
DeAndre Hopkins caught it! I can't believe it! Aaron Donald rips it to the turn. Come on! The chase is on. DK Metcalf catches him.
Somebody had a cathartic experience yesterday, gentlemen, and his name is Aaron Rodgers, and we are here for just a release. Let it all out. Hi, Marcus Spears. Hi, Max Kellerman. I'm Molly Karen Rose. Woof. Unreal, right?
He put it on him.
I mean, unbelievable. Okay, so here's what we're talking about in case you didn't see it. Outside of a retirement presser, I cannot remember a time when a Hall of Fame caliber athlete has had a more real, candid, raw, and thoughtful press conference. Aaron Rodgers did that yesterday. It was 30 minutes discussing in detail all the factors that led to his strife with the Green Bay Packers, some of which didn't even involve him. Take a listen.
I wanted to help the organization maybe learn from them some of the mistakes in the past, in my opinion, about the way that some of the outgoing veterans were treated, and just the fact that we didn't retain a number of players that I felt like were core players to our foundation, our locker room, high character guys. I'm talking about Charles Woodson, Jordy Nelson, Julius Peppers, Clay Matthews, Randall Cobb, James Jones, John Kuhn, Brett Good, T.J. Lang, Brian Balaga, Casey Hayward, Micah Hyde, guys who were, exceptional players for us, but great locker room guys, high character guys. Many of them who weren't offered a contract at all, or were extremely lowballed, or were, maybe in my opinion, not given the respect on the way out that guys of their status and stature and high character deserved. And I think we can all understand, Green Bay isn't, a huge vacation destination. People are coming here to play with me, to play with our team, and knowing that they can win a championship here. The rules, are the same for most people, but every now and then there's some outliers, guys who've been in an organization for 17 years and won a few MVPs, where they can be in conversations at a different higher level. I'm not asking for anything that other great quarterbacks across the last few decades have not gotten, the opportunity to just be in conversation. So if you're gonna cut a guy who, based on a meritocracy, was our second best receiver in training camp last year for the majority of camp, maybe run it by me, see what I feel. I might be able to change your mind, but at least to be in a conversation makes you feel like you're important, you're respected, and that's what I tried to convey in February and for the first couple months. But no, it hasn't been that. That's just the way they do it. I don't necessarily agree with it, but objectively, there's been a lot of success here over the last 30 years. I just wanted to be a little bit more involved, and I understand that that's not the way it went.
You know what we're going to do, Max? We're going to take all that luggage that everyone's been carrying around, all the suitcases, and we are going to unpack it piece by piece. Let's go. First reactions from you.
First of all, that's the type of speech you give when you quit a job you think you're never going back to. Like, take this job and shove it. Like, that speech. Oh, my God, he put him on blast. Let me tell you something. What that was a takeover. Not just a takeover, but the takeover. See, everyone gets this most famous rap battle wrong. Jay-Z and Nas, Marcus. Everyone talks about you got ethered. And I get why, because it's Nas and he's great and all that. But Ether was just throwing everything against the wall and let's see what sticks, right? Jay-Z in the takeover was surgical precision. And whether or not it was the truth, it sounded like the truth. He didn't say all that much. He had about 4 or 5 points, and each one sounded true, right? So you're like, oh, that was what Aaron Rodgers just did to the Packers. That was a takeover. He killed them with what certainly sounded like the truth. And especially when you hear Brian Gutekunst, who went first, right? He talks to the press first, and he thinks, oh, this will be business as usual, right? So he's just like, come on, B, that's not
sad little press conference.
That's not even what it is. And then Rodgers came out and flamed him. Rodgers, I've been saying this all along. He's the boss in the sense that it's his mind you have to change. I said the Packers won this deal, Marcus, because in the end they bought themselves one more year to win a Super Bowl with an invested Aaron Rodgers, who's going to be invested in his teammates and winning a Super Bowl, and bought themselves 12 months to change his mind. But it has nothing to do with the decision they make. It is 100% the decision Aaron Rodgers makes, because that, my friends, was the takeover.
I like it. You bring it in that old rap history that you got, Max Kell. Listen, man, when I saw that interview, the first thing came to my mind, Max, to your point when he flamed him, is he still don't want to be there. This is one of the concessions that was made by the Green Bay Packers, to your point, to save face and potentially save a year. I think it's over. I thought it was over before. I was wrong. He returned, came back to camp. But when you look at that press conference, man, that's like walking in your house and telling your wife, I'm here until the kids go to college. And then I'm riding out. Because when you look an organization squarely in the face with their emblem on the podium and tell them how bad they are at decision making, that is not the way you rectify a situation or work towards rectifying a situation. The second thing is this, though, Max, because I got to play devil's advocate. And look, as a player, man, I respect so much about what Aaron Rodgers said about how they let former players go out and it wasn't the right way and they should have consulted and all of those things. But Max, put Max on the camera.
I'm right here. I figured I know where you're going with this.
You know what, Max? He signed that damn contract when it came up, didn't it? He took the money when it came to him. He took the money. Now I got love for what he said, bro. That's respectable. That's commendable. Looking out for the guys that he felt were wrong, either on their way out or at the end of their careers. But when that big money came up for Aaron Rodgers, he didn't bring all that up when he was signing his deal. Now he's there in the midst.
I think he's talking about give him a chance to come back at a reduced rate. Let's figure this out. Like the way he's really talking about Gutekunst and Murphy's people skills. He's not just talking about the Packers brand or his teammates or the fans. He's talking about there are a couple of dudes, I don't like their bedside manner. I don't like the way they treat people, and I'm a person.
You're absolutely right. And you know that's what this has been about. It's been about the interaction between people outside of the business part. But all of this transpired before he signed this deal. All of these dudes that he talked about that were treated wrong on their way out, coincidentally, what he's fighting about right now is how he's being treated on the way out. He knew all of that transpired before he signed for all that money with the Green Bay Packers. This is how they do things. And let me ask you this, because look, Aaron Rodgers has been wronged. If his input and the things that he thought would make this team better wasn't taken into account based on what he's done with the Green Bay Packers, he's absolutely right. But there's always another side to these particular situations, because within that, he also said it's been a lot of success around here for 30 years. Yep. And they've done a tremendous job as far as being relevant, staying in the midst of it. And we all know the history of the Green Bay Packers and Lambeau and all of those things. Mm-hmm. I can see both coins. I can see both things. But Marcus, and a lot of people don't like that.
Look, Gutekunst, let's take him as a GM. I agree. If you took every quarterback off every team and evaluated the rest of the roster, Packers are up there. They might not be the best, but they're closer to the best than the worst. They're pretty good. They're one of the better teams in the league. So that's Gutekunst, the GM, doing an excellent job. But this is something that must be said. If you dot all the I's and cross all the T's and you're really good at on the margins and paying attention to detail and building a good team, but you alienate your quarterback, who happens to be one of the greatest quarterbacks who ever lived, then you can't call yourself a good GM. Like all the other good work you did, all that good work I mean, let's be honest, the biggest part of your job is making sure you're good with that dude. That's number one. Yeah. And he blew that. And now he's got 12 months to get the horse back in the barn. He's got 12 months to get the toothpaste back in the tube, right? That's not easy, but he's got to start trying. And yesterday's press conference from Gutekunst was a very bad start. I think if it would have occurred, talking to Tim Hasselback in my radio show, Max Kellerman show, 2 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio. But he was making the point, he wonders what Gutekunst would have sounded like had he gone after Rodgers. Well, the next 12 months all happens after Rodgers' press conference. Let's see if he can get this done. Marcus, it may feel humiliating for a GM to kind of bow before a player, right? To kneel and scrape. But only if the GM lacks humility. The NFL is a league with military roots, West Point and all that, right? They don't want insubordination. They want chain of command. They want people to stay in their lane. They want them to know humility. Now it's time for a GM to follow suit. It's time for a GM to do what everyone asks the players to do all the time. He has 12 months to get it done.
Gutekunst did speak this morning. Well, more on that later. Marcus, before we move on, I want to play another soundbite. There's one thing I just want to ask your question about. Because when he was talking about retaining players and how they were let out the door, it's almost like you're trying to find the right way to do the wrong thing. Not saying that it's the wrong thing, but it's a business, right? At some point, you're going to need to get cut. Professional athlete only has so long to play. Was there any part of that you disagreed with him? Like, do you really think there's a big difference between one franchise and another and how they let guys out the door?
No, not at all, Molly. Not at all. And we've seen this all throughout the league. Look, I got a lot of respect for what Aaron Rodgers said, but publicly, everybody applauds that, as well as I. But I don't want people to be fooled that's watching us right now that every player that's had a long tenure in the NFL don't feel this way. That we haven't seen teammates and players be released that we thought should still be a part of the team. I was in Dallas when Jerry released T.O. For what? He had come off a 1,200-yard season and 10 touchdowns. Wow. Why would you let this guy go? We all had head scratchers in the locker room. We all were trying to figure out, why would you do that? Especially after you did so much to get him going against what Bill Parcells wanted to happen as far as him being the head coach. So we all have these stories. I guarantee every NFL player with 5 years of plus experience as far as playing and starting at a high level feels bad about certain guys that were released. One of the guys that I thought that Dallas let go, one of my vets when I came in the league, was Greg Ellis. Greg Ellis went to Oakland and went to the Pro Bowl the next year. We knew he could still play. So this is not just in particular to Aaron Rodgers and how he feels about how Green Bay has managed things.
But communication is important. And another Tim Hasselbeck story from yesterday was he mentioned Eli Manning when he was with the Giants. Eli Manning, Molly, I'm sure you'll be interested in we're talking about the 07-08 Super Bowl now against the undefeated Patriots, the greatest team ever. They're about to be called the greatest team ever. But during the season, or maybe it was a preseason, they weren't convinced about David Tyree. They thought he was the worst receiver in the corps, right? Yep. And Eli Manning was like, no. I like that guy. He's not the fastest. He's not the biggest. I trust him. He's where he's supposed to be. Yeah. He's a team guy. We should not get rid of Tyree. So you know what the Giants did? They held on to Tyree. And you know what Tyree did? He held on to the ball in the Super Bowl for one of the greatest catches in American history. If it touched a blade of grass, no good. But they won the Super Bowl because they had David Tyree, because they listened to their veteran quarterback. And Eli Manning was no Aaron Rodgers. But when he gave input, they took it seriously. They certainly weren't arrogant enough to tell him to get in your place.
He deserves that.
Absolutely,
I just had to ask
Aaron
the question because I feel like I have so much respect for Aaron Rodgers right now and his heart and his character and everything that he showed. But there was part of me, I had a little pause. And I hate as a woman more than anything when someone calls you sensitive or emotional. And I said, is he being too sensitive or too emotional here in terms of just focusing on the humanity when it's really actually a business? So that's why I just wanted to clear that up with you, Marcus. But let's keep going. I want to play a very telling soundbite here where Aaron Rodgers caught himself. Pay attention.
That's why I just have to focus on this season. And I love this team. I love the fans, and the opportunity to play on Lambeau Field has been a dream come true. To be in my 17th season is really special. I don't take that for granted.
You know, Marcus, you saw this press conference and you were like, I'm on my boss-ish. I'm going to break out the new look, the fresh shades, because Aaron Rodgers got me hyped like that. Your reaction to that?
He don't love the organization. That's number one. I know he said it later on. I believe later on he said he loved the organization, but he doesn't. And everything. Listen, we have this press conference from Aaron Rodgers. And we have a full offseason of Aaron Rodgers who got up there and said, I didn't say anything. That was the damn problem, that you didn't say nothing. You didn't say anything about what this franchise or organization did in particular to upset you and make you mad. But everybody knew. And then he talked about the reports. There were no leaks from my side. Well, somebody was telling Adam Schefter something because you confirmed every damn thing he reported about what was going on with you and the Green Bay Packers. But he don't love the organization. And I know this is, to Max's point, this is, I'm going to do what I have to do so I could do what I want to do. And that concession that Green Bay made, Green Bay has to be careful not to put themselves in a bad situation going forward. But also the concessions that needed to be made up until this point, they got Aaron Rodgers back in the building. He still don't want to be there, though.
Well, once again, I have to give credit where credit's due, and that's to Tom Brady. Because, Molly, the reason that Tom Brady is the GOAT, and something that you've pointed out a lot, and I may have underestimated, was his decision-making and his leadership. Because maybe those are the most, maybe that outweighs even Mahomes and Rodgers' athletic ability. They also have leadership and decision-making. But leadership and decision-making, Brady, nobody is as good as Brady, right? And he has led the way once again with his decision that, you know what, I don't like the way things are going. I'm taking pay cuts, basically. I don't like the way you're spending my money. You're not drafting well. I need more. And he wound up leaving. And once he left, and he did it a new kind of way, it wasn't Belichick's way anymore, he started being more honest in public, more candid in public. And I think that Rodgers not only saw what Brady did by leaving the team, but also saw the way Brady is interacting with the media and with the fans and his level of public honesty and candor now. And Tom Brady, obviously, to me, blazed the trail. And here comes Aaron Rodgers.
That's a great point, because it's hard to live closeted, right, at some point. Yeah. And they were at the golf tournament together, and it was very telling because Brady came out and said, essentially, that Aaron Rodgers is handcuffed. You know, he's not respected. He doesn't want to be there. But it sounded like Brady already knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Molly. I believe 100% Aaron Rodgers wants a new place. He wants a new place. He wants, listen, the dude has put in major work. We've all talked and lamented about the great things he's done in Green Bay. Sometimes it's time for a scene change. And I think this one particular year that he decided to come back, that's why I don't agree with you, Max. I don't agree that the 12 months are changing his mind. I believe Aaron Rodgers' mind. I believe his mind is already made up.
They got a shot.
Because he's there every day. I understand that. But I think his shot is going to evolve somewhere on the West Coast or closer to where he wants to be.
They're having a party in Denver right now. 1 year countdown to Aaron Rodgers.
or they're crying. Obviously, this press conference was 30 minutes in its entirety. It was riveting. We'll play more of it later and react to it. But, guys, it's only the first day of training camp, but Patrick Mahomes is already doing Showtime things. Come on now. With his signature no-look pass, Mahomes' no-look passes took the NFL by storm in his 2018 breakout campaign. We're here for all of it. And obviously, we've been talking a lot about Brady and Rodgers, but let's not forget about this guy because he is something special. Max, when we're looking at the Chiefs, though, besides Mahomes, which player is really the key to their success?
Orlando Brown Jr. I mean, I cannot believe the Ravens. I know Baltimore had to do some things. They had to get some relief and all this. You trade him to the Chiefs? Wait a minute. The Chiefs' offensive line was in shambles.
People to the Chiefs.
It was in shambles, right? Like, the reason they lost the Super Bowl, first and foremost, is no quarterback in the history of the Super Bowl ever been pressured on as many snaps as Patrick Mahomes. And everyone was covered. They didn't have to bring any extra guys. No offensive line. So how do they fix it? And they also signed Tooney. That's amazing. Their left side is locked down. They got Blythe from the Rams. He may not even start. They're deep now, and they're good. And Remmers is good on the right side. But the best player is your left tackle. And you mean to tell me you bring in a premium left tackle from your maybe chief rival in the NFC, so to speak, chief rival in the NFC, and in the AFC rather. Now think about Patrick Mahomes. What we're going to remember from last year's Super Bowl, the plays were going to be all Patrick Mahomes. He was the most spectacular player in the Super Bowl while he was running for his life. Now he knows his blind side's good, right? He has at a Pro Bowl level blindside protection. Good Lord, what's about to happen to the NFL?
Man, I got to give my boy Dan Orlowski some credit because he talked about this is going to be the best version of the Chiefs offense that we've seen. And to your point, Max, Orlando makes that happen. I'm going to go a little bit unconventional with my guy, Mecole Hardman. I think they need a second receiver to step up. I think he needs to be a five-tool player. Max, you love baseball. I think he needs to create for this offense because between Tyreek and Travis Kelce, we all know that they are going to have success, and Patrick Mahomes is going to be able to get them to rock. But I believe Mecole Hardman can be a game changer. He's explosive. We all know how good he is with the ball in his hands. But remember, Sammy Watkins went to Baltimore.
Yeah, he's gone.
And now you have an opportunity to step up in that number 2 receiver spot and really become a guy in this offense that Patrick Mahomes not only counts on, but another explosive play type of guy. Because when we all know, Max, to your point, the consensus is you always got to have an offensive line. Like, we learned that. The most important unit on a football team is the offensive line because the quarterback got to be protected, and the quarterback is the most important player in particular as an individual. But when I look at this offense and I look at explosiveness, and you think about how, because this is one thing Patrick Mahomes doesn't get credit for, and we always talk about the no-look throws, and we talk about Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. Patrick Mahomes loves to spread the football around.
Yeah, don't let Mecole become take a step. If he takes a step forward in development, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Max, think about it. Think about if Mecole Hardman becomes Emmanuel Sanders when Emmanuel Sanders started rolling.
Impossible. It's impossible.
They unguardable as much as they've been unguardable already. So I look at him, and I know a lot of people have different opinions, but when you look at now that this offensive line is intact, focusing on these skill position players and thinking about what they lost at the wide receiver. Because, look, Sammy Watkins wasn't great, but he was reliable. He was dependable. He was another guy that Patrick Mahomes had full confidence in that if I need to get him the ball, he's going to deliver for me.
They got a running back
was huge in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, listen, Mecole Hardman steps up and becomes that guy at the number 2, it's over.
It's over.
I bet you they're loving right now because doesn't it feel like the Chiefs are flying under the radar a little bit, as ridiculous as that sounds, with all the Bucks running it back and all their rings and this Aaron Rodgers stuff, and the Chiefs just, no look passing people. All right, we'll leave it there. More football coming up just around the bend. Which NFC West powerhouse has the best chance to win the division? Some ridiculous quarterbacks. Which is the best? Plus,
49ers select Trey Lance.
Welcome to the 49ers, buddy.
I'm not sure if I'm available or not. I definitely believe they've gotten calls for sure.
Wilson has not demanded a trade. He does have a short list of teams.
Just letting everybody know we're still friends, Hey. Just messing with you.
I love that. Camp takes. Let's take a look at the odds. Caesars William Hill on the NFC West. It's a loaded division, to say the least. With the Rams and new quarterback Matthew Stafford as a slight favorite over San Francisco. Not sure who the quarterback's going to be there. And Seattle. They're on the Cardinals, who went 8-8 last year, and you might have the best division in NFL. We bring in 2-time Super Bowl champ Rob Ninkovich to Camp Takes. Rob, good to see you. Where is he? There he is. You were excellent on Get Up this morning talking about the Rodgers stuff. Really interesting stories. But we're not going to focus on that now. We are going to focus on the NFC West. So who's the odd man out?
I think it's Arizona. I think Arizona is going to be probably last in that division. I say that because you look at the Rams and what they've been able to do. They go out and they get a quarterback, a guy that they finally feel can get them back to where they were when they lost the Super Bowl. Then you can't go against Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. You just can't bet against those guys. They're always going to be competitive. And then the 49ers, with Shanahan at the helm, running the offense and the new quarterback, and there's a lot of things that are going to be exciting. I do love Kyler Murray, but the one thing that I think could possibly get them in trouble in Arizona is just the physical toll that he takes and the damage that he takes. Last year, week 8 against Miami, he rushed for 108 yards. And then the next week they play Buffalo. Guess what? He tweaks his hamstring. And then from that point on, he really couldn't run the football. I think the next best rushing statistic was about 6 weeks later. He rushed for 75 yards. And then other than that, it was like 15 yards, 3 yards, another 15 yard. And they're going to have him out of the pocket moving. So again, I think that the Rams are the clear-cut team in that division. And it's going to be an exciting year. I can't wait to watch that division.
I thought the Rams were the clear-cut team. And let me start like this. The NFC West, I think any one of these teams, Rob, can win the Super Bowl. I think any one of these teams are capable of doing that, includes Arizona, notwithstanding what you said. Like, how much does J.J. Watt have left? How much does A.J. Green have left? What kind of tandem will he make with DeAndre Hopkins? Possibly an elite one. We'll see. There's a lot, and what kind of leap does Kyler Murray take? If you want to ask me who's the odd team out, I'm actually going to go with San Francisco, and I'll tell you why. It's not the way I look at the team. I think it's the way they're looking at themselves internally. When you spend that much draft capital to move up in the draft, to draft a quarterback, when you could maybe run back what you did a couple years again and get to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo, why not? Maybe this time he hit. You design a play and he hits the guy, right? He hits Emmanuel Sanders. He hits whoever they design the play for, and you win the Super Bowl. The 50-50 kind of throw, maybe next time he makes it. I think they think that's a possibility in San Francisco. Hey, let's wait and see. We'll start with Jimmy G. We'll see where this goes. But do you draft a rookie quarterback who has a chance to start sometime in his rookie season if you think you're going to win the Super Bowl? No rookie quarterback's even ever gotten there, right? Not that it'll never happen, but I don't think that's your plan. So my sense is that in San Francisco, they think they're a little farther away than we do outside San Francisco. And for that reason, in a division where you could pick any one of these teams to finish first or last, Seattle's defense should be better. Cam Akers goes down. Normally you'd say, well, a running back shouldn't move the odds that much. But in an offense where you saw what he did with Goff and Gurley, what could he have done with Stafford and Akers? Now, that's not going to be there the same way. I think in a division like this, anyone could finish first or last. You make me choose who's going to be the odd team out. I'm actually going to take the Niners.
I think that could possibly happen. I really do. I mean, you look at the way that they went out this offseason. When there's a quarterback controversy, it could always kind of mess up the mojo of the offense. But I do believe in the 49ers defense. I think that they could be a really special unit. And you look at the division, I think if you look at that division, defense, honestly, you talk about the quarterbacks, but it's really going to come down to what defense is going to come out on top. The Rams, I mean, you think about the fronts and the pass rush that we're looking at in that division. You got the Rams, you got Aaron Donald, you got Bosa with the 49ers. The Seattle, they're going to have a better season this year. But then you look at Arizona, they got Chandler Jones. Hopefully, they figure things out and he gets back in the mix. J.J. Watt, how are they going to come and help that team out? So really, we're talking about the offense, we're talking about the quarterbacks, we're talking about the receiver, we're talking all offense, but really the defense, I think, is going to really set apart the teams that are first or the team that ends last in that division.
Mm-hmm. The other thing about Kyler Murray, and I hear what you're saying, the injuries and it could rack up and everything, he made improvements from year 1 to year 2. He had a very good rookie year, made improvements to year 2. A lot of times guys go from, that's that big jump, but then they turn great. Right? Like, when does a young player get great? Yeah, sometimes that's year 3. They have, especially if they've been starting for 2 straight years. If Kyler Murray takes that jump, look out for Arizona. And I feel like he's poised to do it.
Playoffs, Max?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm telling you, I don't know how to rank these teams. Mm-hmm. If you make me, I'll take San Francisco last, but this is the most competitive division in football, in my opinion.
Rob, do you think Arizona will go to the playoffs?
I think they'll just miss it this year. I think they need another year. I mean, you're right, Max, about that third year. I mean, look, he could just go skyrocket up and he could double the touchdown production and he could really produce this season. But there are a lot of question marks as far as durability, but then also defensively, can they keep up? I think Arizona, like you said, this division of all divisions in football right now it's a toss-up between which team is going to beat the other teams twice, which teams are going to win the division. The other teams that they have to play throughout the season could affect the standings. So last year being 8-8, it's hard for me to think that they're going to drastically be a 13-win football team. So I think they just miss it. But we'll see how that third year comes with Kyler. Some third-year players, they plateau at 2, and then they kind of they don't take off. So it's all going to depend, first of all, on health and his durability, because we did see last year when he had a little injury, it affected him a lot in his ability to move and get out of the pocket. Every highlight I see of Kyler Murray, it's literally he's lightning quick on the edge. He's beating people to the edge for a touchdown. He stops your feet. He gets to the edge. Once he had that hamstring and he couldn't run like that, that was pretty much it. Teams are like, all right, let's bottle him up, keep him in the pocket, let him throw from a tight pocket where he can't look over the big offensive linemen that are huge in front of him. So we're going to see, and he's going to go against a defensive front like the Rams. They're going to get after him. So it should be interesting to see how he does do on this third season.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to wrap it up, I know I'm talking about the NFC, not just the NFC West now, but talking about San Francisco. I'm still so surprised odds makers, even with Aaron Rodgers, have the Niners ahead of the Packers. I find that mind-boggling, especially with the questions with the quarterback. But
you can run the ball and you can play defense. I think, there's only so far that they think you'll drop.
Yeah. All right. We'll leave it on that note. Rob, thank you so much. When we come back here on First Take, who in the NBA does Cade Cunningham play like? Wait till you hear the unbelievable comparison in our next block. We'll get you ready for all the Gavoni. Oklahoma State's Cade Cunningham looks to be the consensus number 1. After that, it's really unclear.
Jalen Green really stock rose.
Right? For sure. They've got him second, and then the Cavs take USC's Evan Mobley, and then the Raptors with Gonzaga's Jalen Suggs. So many Jalens. Shout to my mother-in-law. Okay, we welcome in NBA insider and analyst Jordan Schultz. Jordan, so good to see you.
Great to be here.
Yes, excited. It's draft day. But first, you had some interesting news hot off the press.
Yeah, so obviously it's draft day. You want to be strategic. Kyrie Irving is going to be firing Rock Nation, which is a pretty big deal. He's now going through his second agent in less than 2 years. And, it just happened. I'm not sure exactly what it means from a strategic standpoint. But it does matter when you think about the grand scheme of draft day, the Nets, and what Kyrie Irving wants to be.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've only had 2 agents, but I know when you get rid of an agent, you're disgruntled about something.
He's going through an agent a year.
Yeah,
and now,
but that's something you're not happy about.
Yeah, and Rock will have about 10 days to try and fix it, appease it. But Kyrie Irving firing Rock Nation on draft day.
On draft day.
It's interesting. It's a nugget.
Timing is interesting. Remember Aaron Rodgers, what went down on draft day, but that kind of worked out. All right, so let's dive into some of those names because you got the knowledge and I want to know. So the projected board, let's start with Cade Cunningham. Why is he that consensus number 1?
So Cade Cunningham is really the classic modern-day point guard when we think about size, 6'8", 220, and his ability to manipulate pick and roll. Now, when NBA teams look at Cade Cunningham, they see a guy that plays the pick and roll 3 ways. He has his man he reads, then the next read is the drop man, the big, the guy in help coverage, and then now as a result of being able to do that, he's now able to get downhill and create 2-on-1 and 3-on-2 condensed half-court situations. That's where you see the lob, the dunk shot. He has a really good stop and pop game. His pick and roll floater is very good. He has got that size and strength to finish, and obviously extremely unselfish as well. So Cade Cunningham, from the full package standpoint of manipulating pick and roll in the half court, which you need in the playoffs, as we saw, he has it.
So who's the comp? He's good. If he goes number 1 overall, who's the comp in the NBA right now or ever?
Well, I see Luka Doncic. I see a lot of that. Unselfish, same size, similar length. Pedigree for Cade Cunningham is elite. When we think about Doncic, he was 18. He wins the EuroLeague MVP. That will never happen again. Cade Cunningham has been the number 1 player in his draft class for the last 3 years. He has maintained that throughout a lot of pressure, a lot of really good players coming up behind him, and he has been that guy. And like Doncic, he's able to control the game without scoring, and also when he has the ball in his hands, he doesn't need to have that elite quickness. He has that great pace and 3-level scoring that you need from an elite point guard.
You mentioned Luka was supernaturally confident and mature. And you think Cade fits into that profile?
I do. I think he is the full package. And when you talk to people around him, they say, great kid, worker, wants to be great. Now, we hear that a lot during the draft.
Yeah.
But Cade Cunningham is the full package in terms of what you would want if you're the Detroit Pistons.
Okay, so tell me this. Tom Gore's team, the city of Detroit.
They need it.
We need
11 guys named Jalen in this draft, and Jalen wants Cade.
Right? No, but honestly, with talking about Cade, like how much of a difference maker is he if they get him right now? Are we talking playoffs?
No, not playoffs, because that roster still is depleted. But he now gives you the path 3-4 years down the road of elite young player. Guys will want to come play with him because he's so unselfish. And I think he's the kind of player and human that Detroit needs. You know, the Pistons haven't had for 10, 15 years since the, Chauncey and Rip and Tayshaun, they haven't had a franchise cornerstone.
Days,
that's Cade Cunningham, and that's why he's been so talked about for the #1 pick for so long.
All right, so the Lions, back to the Lions for 3 or 4 years.
That's quite a comp.
Lions is another story.
Jalen Green, you have him going 2 overall to Houston, or most people do.
Yeah, and Mike Schmitz is right on that. I think with Houston, what have they loved for so long? They love wings. The NBA needs wings. Jalen Green is an explosive 6'5", 180-pound wing that can attack downhill. We talk about 3-level scoring. He has it. He really elevates, too. We talk about below the rim finishers, at the rim, and then above the rim. Jalen Green is an above the rim finisher who really elevates, and he also loves the big game. If you go back to the G League bubble in the playoffs, this guy got better every week. And the final game, which they lost, he goes for 30-plus and dominated. And he was the best player on the floor for a lot of that bubble against grown men, NBA-caliber players. That's Jalen Green.
Elite athletic wings are really, we're in a point guard lead, we're in a big lead.
We need wings.
And yet the elite athletic wings are the guys you want, right? Who is the comp?
T-Mac, Kobe. That's the explosiveness with this kid, though, because with those guys, when they got out on the open floor, they were dominant, and you knew what was going to happen. You look at T-Mac highlights here, young T-Mac, young Kobe. That is exactly the type of talent that Jalen Green is. And as he gets older and fills out, gets up to 190, 200, he'll be able to get that T-Mac kind of mid-post game, that Kobe patented low-post game as he gets stronger.
Kobe, this is a lot for me to take right now.
Now, I'm not saying he's Kobe and T-Mac, but when you ask around the league about who does Jalen Green remind you of if he's able to reach his ceiling, those are the types of names that you're hearing.
Wow, it's a lot.
Okay, let's jump down the board a bit. Jordan, tell me what you know about Scotty Barnes.
Scotty Barnes, this guy has a lot, from an offensive standpoint, maybe the most exciting player in this draft. Great footwork, 6'9", 7'3" wingspan, extremely long. Didn't shoot it super well at Florida State, but really good mechanically as well. Leonard Hamilton, their head coach, has talked about Scotty Barnes as being one of the most unbelievable players he's ever been around. And Scotty Barnes is also that kind of kid with a 3-level ability. You see the stop and pop game, the ability to get to the basket. He's only 6'9", he's only 18, 19 years old. He might grow a little bit more. He'll get more into that frame. With Scotty Barnes, you're getting right now an NBA-ready offensive player.
Is the reason he's not even higher in this draft because of the shooting? In today's NBA game, if you can't shoot it from the outside, you're devalued a bit, right?
100%. But listen, I heard one scout said he has Giannis-like qualities. So Giannis, obviously, Max, still working on his shooting, improved. Scotty Barnes has good mechanics, way better mechanics than Giannis did at that age. But you can start to see, now, I don't think Scotty's in that class of athleticism, but the length and the ability to manipulate, look at that beautiful behind the back ball screens, that's Scotty Barnes. Also super intelligent and a really unselfish playmaker.
So what's the comp?
I think it's Giannis.
It is Giannis.
It's a smaller version.
Giannis.
Smaller version, but that's why Scotty Barnes for a long time, you heard maybe he could go 1, maybe he could go 2, and you mentioned the shooting, but mechanically he's sound, and he's talked about, I feel I've already become a better shooter, and I was told in workouts he shot the ball a lot better than he did during the season.
It's weird because it's like rebounding is the thing you think that like effort, you just get better, right?
Rebounding is a skill, though.
Yeah, it's a skill, but shooting, actually, guys do improve it.
Yes.
Right? More than even rebounding, it seems like, when it should be the opposite, but somehow it's not.
Muscle memory, reps, 500 threes makes the day. That's how you get better as a shooter, and that's what he's been doing.
Yeah, Ben Simmons is working on that.
Ben Simmons got to just shoot it in the game one time.
Yeah, exactly.
Lastly, James Bouknight. Why do you like him?
Oh, my goodness. This is one of my favorite players in the draft.
Yeah?
Now, I sound like a broken record because I love all these kids.
Yeah.
James Bouknight, 6'5". He is one of the high risers. I've been talking about Bouknight for the last 3 months. He comes back to Stores for his second season and has an explosive year. One of the premier scorers in the draft. He's been unbelievable in workouts. A couple teams told me one of the best shooting workouts they've ever seen. And you see Jamal Murray there. That's the type of combo guard that we're going to see with James Bouknight. He's a little bigger than Murray, a little more explosive, but the pick and roll ability, the ability to really play 1.5, both guard positions, that's Jamal Murray, and that's what James Bouknight is, and that's why he's really gone from 15 to 20 up into that top 10, and why he's one of the most coveted guards in this draft.
How tall is Bouknight?
Bouknight's about 6'5".
Yeah, right. That's not a small guard, even for a combo
And you
guard.
know the pedigree he has.
UConn. Ray Allen.
Come on.
I mean, I talked to Alex Mazzell.
UConn Huskies.
Yeah, his skills trainer, and he was saying this kid in a 2-day workout didn't miss a shot. Like, he has really improved. Even
That's
though
what happens in Stores at Gamble. Those are the kind of
Gamble
things that
Pavilion.
happen. Max
No Jim
Kellerman. I know you
Calhoun,
haven't been up there with the cows, but that's what happens. All right, churning out all-stars.
Well, you certainly can't argue with the success of the women's team, right? Like, what are you going to say?
Okay.
What are you going to say?
Yeah, the men are coming back too. I believe, I believe in Healy. All right, speaking of all-stars, how many all-star caliber players tonight?
I think 6 or 8, plus several frontline NBA starters, third and fourth options.
Hold on. 6 to 8 all-stars.
Yeah.
So, like,
we just named 4. We just named 4.
There's a difference between an all-star and a perennial all-star, right?
Sure.
Like, a guy makes an all-star team versus a guy lives at the all-star game. How many of these dudes from this draft will live at the all-star game in their careers?
I think 5 or 6, because we haven't even talked about Evan Mobley.
That's a good question.
And then you have Sugun from Turkey, the 6'11 kid who is incredible, Super League Turkish MVP at 18. That's unprecedented. We go back a little bit. We start to think about Trey Mann, Sharif Cooper. These are high-level NBA players who in a normal draft would be lottery picks.
Wow. I mean, that's if you talk about 5 or 6 perennial all-stars, one of the greatest drafts of all time if it turns out.
It's not. It might be 03, 96.
His energy is kind of infectious. I feel even more excited about the draft.
I'm really excited to watch this draft because I love all these kids. Now, Max.
I can tell. I see the enthusiasm.
Now, Max, when I'm wrong in 3 years, I'm going to go buy you a beer.
Yeah. Don't at me. All right. We'll see more of you later. Also, don't want to
Evan Mobley? Hold on.
Don't want to bury.
Evan Mobley.
I don't want to bury the lead, though.
Sure.
Kyrie Irving firing his agent
Yes.
also on draft day. Interesting timing. Maybe we'll have more on that. Guys, the NBA draft, it's tonight. It's starting at 7:30 Eastern. And Jordan will be back with us in just a bit.
Well, really, who's Mobley?
All the bucks. When you come back, you will tell us where Ben Simmons.
And the opportunity to play on Lambeau Field has been a dream come true. To be in my 17th season is really special. I'm just going to enjoy this season like I did last year, have the right perspective, and then make decisions at the end of the season.
A whole nother level of respect for that man now. Outside of a retirement press conference, I cannot remember a time when a Hall of Fame caliber athlete had a more real, candid, raw, and thoughtful presser. Aaron Rodgers did just that yesterday. No script. This was 30 minutes discussing in detail all the factors that led to his stripe. Here's his GM with the response to the response.
He's unique in the fact of what he's done for this organization. Every player's not going to have that kind of input, right? I mean, it's going to be Aaron. But he's always had it. I think it's how we incorporate it. And at the end of the day, it's really no different than some of the other people in our organization that have opinions about what we're going to do. At the end of the day, I'm going to take that in, and then I'll make the decision, and we'll move forward. It's a hard business, and I think sometimes, obviously, the Packers may take the brunt of what is the NFL business. I think while those decisions are hard, they have to be made for the team to grow. I mean, keeping players longer than maybe we should, then all of a sudden we're not signing guys we should down the road. So it's a little bit of a domino effect, and it's hard. It's hard on players, and players should have those feelings. It's hard, and when you play as long as Aaron has, you're going to see a lot of that.
Oh, this relationship, this is over, okay? Let me just give a couple gems really quick. I just heard that for the first time, and then people want to hear from you, not me. He does have input, but at the end of the day, I'm going to make the decision, and it's a hard business, and we need to grow. So if we hold on to people for too long, then how are we growing in the future? Marcus Spears, I'll give you the floor first. Gutekunst. He also seemed like a little annoyed.
Look, let's be realistic, right? Brian Gutekunst is in an impossible situation. Like, it became him versus Aaron Rodgers, and you're not going to win against Aaron Rodgers, especially in this particular situation when we're talking about a Hall of Fame quarterback and a guy that's done it at a higher level than most of the people that's ever played this position. And then when you get the brunt of being the guy that messed it up with your decision-making and not communicating with Aaron Rodgers. So he's in an impossible situation. But what Brian Gutekunst just said is what the NFL has been and will continue to be, right? Like, we all have had those situations where players have been let go and they still have potential to be good or a high level of play, but the organization or the team is moving forward. Look, I'm on Instagram, right? And I see these guys, I follow some of these guys that have lions as pets, right? The NFL organizations are like lions, all right? When you're doing well and you're feeding them and you're playing great and you're doing all of that, you're going to get what you want most of the time. But there will come a time when that lion going to eat you. And at some point, regardless of the relationship that you've built up over years, and I'm talking an extended period of time, and there's no greater example than Tom Brady getting out of New England. Everybody thought that was a great situation. He's winning. He's taking less money to keep players. This organization is running like a well-oiled machine. Eventually, the lion is going to eat you, Max. And look, I think Aaron Rodgers is absolutely right about his particular say and the input that he wants. But Aaron Rodgers is a little blind to me. And it's shocking that he don't think that this particular situation is going to come up for him. It's going to come for every NFL player, whether that's you retiring or whether that's you being cut or released by a player. I'm not saying he's wrong for his feelings. A lot of NFL players have felt this way. But the organizations are going to turn into those lions that's going to eat you at some point. And we all got to live with that reality.
You just said hope that they eat you last. Look, I would say this is like from one of those Gladwell books that you buy at the airport. I forgot which
Malcolm
one.
Gladwell.
But he was talking about,
I love those books.
But he was talking about the idea about malpractice lawsuits with doctors, right? Those lawsuits are actually much more highly correlated with bedside manner than results. Think about that.
Interesting.
You can have lesser doctors getting you bad results, will not be sued as much as doctors who get better results who have a better bedside manner. Yeah. What Aaron Rodgers is talking about and what's happening to Gutekunst right now is he's being sued for a bad bedside manner. And the press conference continued that. Look, watch. It's not hard. Gutekunst is an impossible situation. No, here, I'll be Gutekunst. Here's my press conference. And I hope Gutekunst is watching because I'll show him how to do this. It's not that hard. Look, things have changed a lot in the NFL. Not for every quarterback, but for some special quarterbacks, Rodgers is right. It's not just like it used to be when in the NFL I grew up in and the way I learned the game. And I have to adjust to that new reality, and I didn't do it. Furthermore, Aaron's making points about my people skills. Obviously, if he is that offended by it, and I could be better about that. We maybe still cut all those players, because in the end, I still got to be the general manager. But maybe I could have gone about it differently, and maybe I should have, or not maybe, I should have sought his input. He shouldn't have had to kind of force it on me through this whole process. So, look, no one's perfect. I've learned from this, too. And I really hope I grow from this. And it's not that hard. It's not that hard.
Go ahead. Finish your thought.
What I would say is this. The GMs, I brought it up earlier. Football has its roots. It's a military game, right? It's a war. It's a metaphor for war. And it has its roots in West Point, not just in the Ivy Leagues. And they value the chain of command. And they really don't like insubordination. And they like everyone to know their place. But that's front offices telling players that since the dawn of time, right? Well, it has changed enough now that the GMs have to show the same humility at times. It's very few. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. Those are the only three it applies to at this moment. Maybe not even Russell Wilson. Maybe he's edging towards that, right? But right now, that's it, guys. That's it. And so even sometimes, not just GMs, but owners. Look, ask Dan Gilbert on a lie detector test who actually was the boss in Cleveland, him or LeBron James. Because on a lie detector test, if he says it wasn't LeBron James, it'll go off. Sometimes even if the quarterback is that powerful, even the boss over the owner. We've seen this in the NBA. James Harden told the Rockets, I will be traded to the Nets. And eventually he was traded to the Nets. AD essentially told the Pelicans, you will trade me to the Lakers. And eventually he was traded to the Lakers. And if LeBron wanted to come back, there were hoops Dan Gilbert had to jump through, right? And he jumped through those hoops, and LeBron came back. Aaron Rodgers is in that position with the Packers, And the quicker Murphy and Gutekunst realize this, the better chance they have. Molly, I agree, it's probably not going to happen, but at least they would give themselves a fighting chance. They must show humility.
Swaggo, let me just ask you one question, Max. I feel like everything you said there was absolutely spot on, but what I saw from that little press conference from him just now, it's very telling. Maybe he's bullish that he is doing things the right way, and Aaron Rodgers just has a different process, is a different kind of guy, and he doesn't want to collaborate or he doesn't want to have to concede because he feels like he's doing his job as he should, and there's just strife because they don't like each other. He doesn't like how he won't evolve. And that's why there continues to be that tension. And that's just sometimes how it is in life. Two people just do not like each other.
Well, look, both of y'all know I've looked at this from both sides. Like, I'm not just jumping in the Aaron Rodgers van and being like, you right about everything. And neither is Brian Gutekunst. But it gets to a point, okay, where people take self-reservation. And they think about what they've done. And I get what you're saying, Max, about Brian Gutekunst and what he should say, what he should do. But he's also looking at it from a position of we're having success. And I know Aaron Rodgers is a big part of that success, but a lot of moves that he's made have turned out to be pretty good for the Green Bay Packers and good enough to get them one game away from the Super Bowl. So I understand that Aaron Rodgers is in that position. Player empowerment is great. Like not everybody, but we're in agreement, Max, because we've been around the game so long, and Molly, that these guys need to have more of a say. And this is a particular situation with Aaron Rodgers because we're talking about one of the greatest ever. Like, we're not having this conversation about just a quarterback that's played good for a number of years. We're talking about one of the guys that's done this job at quarterback better than most of the people that's ever played the position in the history of the league. So now that we have that out of the way, Brian Gutekunst has two jobs, right? One job is what Max is saying, collaborate and talk about things that need to be talked about and agreed upon between both of these guys. And Molly, you make that point too, all right? But that might not be how Brian Gutekunst wants to do it. And if he doesn't want to do it, we can all call him stupid for it. We can all say you should just concede. But ultimately, when you start talking about...
that's what I'm saying, Marcus. Exactly what you're saying, that he doesn't see eye to eye. He doesn't want to do it that way. He wants to do it his way. And Aaron Rodgers wants it his way. And that's why the Frank Sinatra song, it's not going to work.
And that's why we saying on both sides, both of these guys are trying to do a job. I'm not willing to just say Brian Gutekunst is the worst GM because he didn't collaborate with Aaron Rodgers. I'm not willing to say that he should be ousted because he didn't collaborate with Aaron Rodgers. Yes, he got this particular situation from a communication standpoint wrong. Okay, but ultimately, this guy is doing his job at a high level. It goes back to what you said about Gladwell's book, Max. Like, look, give me an a-hole doctor that's going to keep me alive. I would rather that than you to nice me to death. Okay, like I'm just that particular person. Like, I want the best guy, right? And I'm not saying Gutekunst is the best GM in the league.
Well,
but he's done a hell of a job.
Marcus, I think he's very good at everything except the most important part of his job. Now, if he was the GM for a team with Derek Carr or Baker Mayfield or Matt Ryan even, or Matt Stafford, some of these are more talented quarterbacks than others, but they're all middle of the pack in some way. They're not elite going to the Hall of Fame. They're not bad. They're not just starters. Some of them are franchise quarterbacks. If he was the GM of a team with a quarterback like that, fine. Hey, this is the way we're doing things. That quarterback's got to get in line. If you are the GM of a team with a quarterback named either Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, or Tom Brady, and maybe one of these guys, maybe eventually Justin Herbert or Trevor Lawrence, or if Deshaun Watson could get over the off-the-field issues, if they're resolved, someone like that, right? If you have a special outlier, which is a word that Aaron Rodgers used, quarterback, in that case, your job, first and foremost, is to make sure that guy's okay, that your relationship
100%.
With that player is okay. And that's what he failed to do.
But the last thing I'll just say that was really telling, Marcus, is he said he does have input. He does give us input. but I make the decision. So it sounds like he doesn't like his input or doesn't use it.
Well, Rodgers is saying he doesn't. Rodgers is saying they wouldn't listen to him.
Well, then they're disagreeing on that because he just came on TV this morning.
That's Molly. That is a very good question.
And he said he does get it. He does give input.
I would love to get Gutekunst and Rodgers on the record about that. Aaron Rodgers is saying he's giving, you guys don't want his input.
Yeah.
You seem to be implying that, in fact, he's given you input and you've decided whether or not to take it. He's claiming you won't even listen. What is the truth?
Yeah, and then he's almost too attached to the past and not looking ahead to the future. To that point,
if you're not listening, if you're Brian Gutekunst, you're stupid. Like that's not even a conversation to what you're saying, Max, about Aaron Rodgers' input. If you're not listening to him, you're stupid. Like, that's what that boils down to. If you don't listen to LeBron James about who to bring on a basketball team, you're stupid. The dude been in the finals for 11 years. The point is, though, and what Molly is saying as well, at some point, Brian Gutekunst got other jobs to do. He has other people to answer to. He has other responsibilities that have to transpire. And to take the point of him Aaron Rodgers putting input and him not listening, he just brought in Randall Cobb because Aaron Rodgers wanted Randall Cobb there.
Yeah. Well, so now things are going to change in a hurry.
It's going to change, right? He learned that point. So I'm just saying, Max, two things can be true. I'm not killing Brian Gutekunst for doing his job badly. I will kill him for not listening to Aaron Rodgers' input.
And I think you're right. They can both be right. But at the end of the day, if you're not managing the relationship to keep Aaron Rodgers, then what do do you have? Then you're not in those NFC Championship games. So that's
Molly,
the last one. All right, I'm being told we have to wrap like 80 times.
He's a complicated fellow.
Right? They need him. That's the last straw, right? Then you don't get anything. I mean, Jordan Love, but I don't know. No disrespect to him.
This ain't
All right,
that
guys.
hard, Brian.
Ed Reed is one of the great.
Yeah.
Oh, ESPN NBA insider Jordan Schultz back here with us on draft day. Gentlemen, we're going to put on our GM caps. Well, you are, I'm not. And we're going to talk about the trade rumors because they're always flying. Now, I need you to pay attention to my wording here, Max Kellerman. Right. Which team needs to make a trade?
Ready for this?
Yeah.
The New York Knicks need to make a trade.
Okay,
they have multiple first rounders, but they're not lottery picks, right? And their team is kind of like that. They have a lot of good players, no great players. Derrick Rose was once great. He's a very good player, but that's what he is. They have no A's, a bunch of B's and B pluses. You have young, improving players that got selected. Barrett, but he's not great. Maybe one day he can make all-star teams. Who knows? Julius Randle, we saw in the playoffs, is at best a third best option on a championship caliber team. They need to package the stuff they have, including their draft picks, including maybe a player or two, and get into a position to nab an impact player. Okay. Whether that's a guy who's been drafted recently on another team and who has real upside, or whether that's someone in this draft.
Well, I know that they're 19 and 21. They've tried to package that to get up into the lottery to get one of two players, potentially Chris Duarte from Oregon, or the guy they really love, Davion Mitchell from Baylor.
Mitchell, yes. Duarte, no. Like,
Mitchell's more of a now
shoot,
guy.
So what?
Yeah, Mitchell's more of an upside, super high upside guy, but that's why they can't get into the lottery. 19 and 21 will not do it.
Right. Well, they got to maybe package some players and see why. If they move up for Duarte, that's a problem.
For me, I'll look at Detroit. Now, this is not a knock on Cade, who I just waxed poetic about.
Yeah,
at least I tried. But think about what Boston did a few years back when they traded from 1 to 3. They weren't sold on Fultz. They loved Tatum. They knew they could get him. I said then he was the most offensively polished player in the draft. That was a great pick. If you're Detroit and you have a very depleted roster, why not look at maybe moving down 1 or 2 picks with Houston or Cleveland?
Pass on Luka? Okay.
Maybe, but if you can get Mobley or Jalen Green, who we all believe are
pass on Luka to get Kobe or AD?
Yeah, exactly. Or McGrady. And add more capital. That's a really interesting play. Now, I think it's unlikely. I know they've listened to talks. They weren't 100% sure that Cade was the guy, but it is something to consider if you're the Pistons.
So you're saying Cade is not appreciably... He's not of a different level player than Mobley or Green.
I think Cade, Green, and Mobley are all in a very special tier by themselves.
Interesting. Okay, because a lot of people, it seemed like he was head and shoulders above the pack.
I think it's like 1A, 1B, and 2.
I like that. Okay, Max, who will make a trade?
Okay, ready for this? I think the Warriors are going to make a deal.
Really?
Because they have a very shrewd front office. Because Klay Thompson's coming back. Steph performed at MVP level. Draymond's getting a little long in the tooth. They have 2 lottery picks.
Yeah,
they have Wiseman, who's like a lottery pick, but he's got a year less control, but a year more experience. They have some guys who can play, like Poole and Pascal. They have some guys on the roster, but they don't really have that third awesome piece to go with Steph and Clay. And in the NBA, you never want to break $1 into 4 quarters. But if you got 4 quarters, you can go find $1, you go do it. So like my rationale for the Knicks, I think the Warriors have so much good stuff. They have a surplus of assets. They're going to go get something great.
I like that. I'll also look at the Philadelphia 76ers. We're back to Ben Simmons. Now, I don't think it's going to happen tonight. I've been told around the league that Ben Simmons will get traded, but Philadelphia, Daryl Morey specifically, feels like let's let his stock come back to earth a little bit. It dipped so much, it plummeted during the playoffs. He's still a very good player, a very young player, but Philadelphia knows that Embiid is the guy. So look at Dallas. Dallas is a really interesting potential trade partner. Kristaps Porzingis needs a change of scenery, as does Simmons. And
Porzingis for Simmons?
I think that's
so.
Really
You're going from 2 teams with like unbelievable point guard center combos, Simmons, Embiid, and Luka Doncic, and you're creating twin towers with Embiid, Porzingis, and 2 point guards with Luka and Simmons?
But I would, and this is not an insider, I'm just saying this is what I like if I'm both teams. Both teams need a new start, or both players need a new start. But if you're Dallas, you don't need to play Simmons in the same role. He can play off the ball as well as a cutter, and also alleviate some of Luka's ball handling responsibilities. Think about it, Mac. It's not that crazy, and the salaries match up pretty well, Molly.
That would be devastating combinations in both towns if Porzingis stayed healthy. No.
Where should he be traded?
Okay. I floated this a couple weeks ago. I'm looking at Portland. Lillard wants out at this point, pretty obviously, right? Yep. Now, you got to slow down these high-powered Western Conference offenses, and they can't do it with that small backcourt. And this involves also moving your bigs. But the first step is, what can you get for Lillard? I think you could probably get Simmons, Thibault, who's second-team all-defense already, who's going to be, maybe this year, the best defensive player in the NBA and maybe hold that position for like 5 or 10 years, right? Like, he's special defensively. You probably get Simmons, Thibault, maybe Maxey, and draft picks, something like that. And it's worth it for Philadelphia because they bring in a superstar who paired with Embiid and then, lesser Tobias Harris. You have more of an answer to Brooklyn if Brooklyn's healthy.
All right, last one here, quickly. Give me a sleeper or a GM. I mean a GM, or a gem, excuse me.
I mentioned Sengun. I'm going to go with Josh Giddey. He's a gym sleeper hybrid because he's been talked a lot about Memphis at 10. He has risen over the last 18 months. He's only 18 years old. He's the youngest player in the draft, Australian kid. You mentioned Thibault. He didn't make the Australian team, but he went up against Thibault in workouts, and it was really good. And Matisse talked about that. I think with Giddey, you're talking about a 6'8" point forward who handles the ball extremely well, very athletic. He was the rookie of the year in the NBL where LaMelo and RJ Hampton were. He does not shoot it particularly well, but he has good mechanics again. He's a worker. He's a learner. And everything about him that I've heard is that Josh Giddey is going to be a really good NBA player, if not an all-star. He's a sleeper gem at 10. I love the Australian.
After Schmitz went on the air earlier and talked about Davion Mitchell, I don't know if this qualifies, but I'm going with it anyway. When a guy named D. Mitchell, an undersized scorer named D. Mitchell who wears number 45 is available, draft him. D. Mitchell, number 45, draft him. Like, it's the same sort of thing. He's a great defender. He can obviously handle. He's a little guard.
He plays bigger.
And he can shoot. What else is there exactly? What else is there?
And 2 years ago, he was buried. Davion Mitchell was on the Auburn bench. Transfers to Baylor, becomes a national champ, and one of the premier players in this draft. I love that call, Max.
Absolutely. Jordan, this was a lot of fun. Great chopping it up with you. Enjoy the draft
tonight.
Enjoy the draft. Yes, and hopefully we will see you soon.
Hope so.
Do this again. All right. It's Friday Eve, and we got a whole lot more of that good debate coming your way. Did I mention it's also draft day? Well, we rarely talk about celebrity gossip on First Take, but Matt Damon with a shocking take on Tom Brady. Wait till you hear what he said about the GOAT. And Lamar Jackson says he's got one thing on his mind this season: Super Bowl. Does former Raven great Ed Reed think Lamar will get there? Plus, Ed may cringe, but he has to answer this. Which of his former rivals will go further this season? The hated Steelers or the Reveal Week? All across ESPN all week, we are unveiling the highly debated player ratings in the popular video game Madden 22. So today, we're breaking down the top 10 safeties. Take a look at this list.
It looks better.
It looks fine on camera. take a look at these right now. We got Tyrann Mathieu, he's 95, coming in at second. Budda Baker, 93, and Devin McCourty at 92. All right, people getting to hear our commercial break combo, Max. It's all good. I guess we're having fun.
No Derwin James on the list.
Right. We welcome in Super Bowl champ, Hall of Famer turned Madden ratings adjuster Ed Reed to discuss this list. Hello, Ed. Thank you so much for being with us. How you doing?
How you doing, Molly? I'm good. How y'all doing? What's up, Max?
Good to see you, GOAT.
Right, I didn't see my name on that list.
I know. I'm sure you got a couple more years in you. Hey, real quick.
By the way, you had a 99, didn't you? Didn't you have a 99 on Madden?
I had a few 99s, Max, and I'm waiting on my chain from Madden right now. They're giving out these chains. You know, I need that.
Okay.
We got turnover chains out there, all this stuff. Come on, hook me up.
Yeah. Before we get into it, I just need to give you a shout because I heard Ed Reed Park is up and running and that you built a playground.
Yeah, it's actually called
and
the Parquet Park.
Okay, but there's turf, there's basketball courts, playground, and I just want to say I absolutely love that you did this because it's so important for kids to have a safe place to play and get outside and not just be sitting in front of video games and, well, except Madden and phones and all that stuff too. No, but really, really great stuff by you, Ed. So I just wanted to say that. If there's anything else you want to mention about it.
It's not the video games that's the bad thing. You know, it's the stuff that take them away from, you know, achieving goals that they can achieve, the things that would distract them, the drugs, the bad company, you know, those things, gun violence, you know what I'm saying? So you need to give them an outlet. That's all we was trying to do with my foundation, A. Reed Foundation. You know, so Molly, I appreciate you bringing that up.
No, absolutely. That's what it's all about, paying it forward. And we will now pay it forward here with a little Madden. And you're the adjuster here. So talk to me about Tyrann Mathieu barely edging out Budda Baker for that overall top spot. What's the deal, Ed?
I think he should be higher. I really think he displayed the top safety in the league. I don't know about the 99 rating because who knows how they rate, you know, so, but I think Tyrann was definitely the #1 safety, you know, for what he's displayed across the league consistently.
You think Metcalf chasing him down kept Budda Baker from the #1 spot?
Hey, that might be it.
That might be it, right? You definitely can't give him speed 99. Not after that.
It's the all around, you know, you got so many good attributes about a lot of these safeties. You know what I'm saying? It's just the consistency is the key. Right. You know, it's the consistency, whether it's being a playmaker, disguising, being effective on the football field, communicating with your guys. It's got to be consistent as a safety.
Ed, speaking of Tyrann Mathieu, not everyone can have a nickname as sweet as the Honey Badger, right? But
right.
what's the best nickname in the NFL right now?
The best nickname in the NFL right now? Oh, man.
That's tough.
It is a tough one.
That's a tough one.
I can't even think of one,
That
Max.
is a tough one. That's a tough one. Who you like out here?
I actually think it's the Honey Badger. I think it's the best one.
It probably is.
Right
the Honey Badger. It might be the only one I know, man.
There's more in the NBA, right? There's definitely more in the NBA. All right, tell me this. So obviously you were one of the best to ever do it with the Baltimore Ravens, and the AFC North is totally stacked. But do you think your guy, Lamar Jackson, this Ravens team has the potential to win a Super Bowl?
Yes, no question. No question about it. But it takes an organization. Lamar's not just by himself. You know, I know every time we talk about the Baltimore Ravens, it's always Lamar got to do this, Lamar got to do that. Mm-hmm. You know, and even when I was there, you know, in Baltimore, we understood that it took a team. And I know Baltimore understands it takes a team. I know with the leadership of Coach Harbaugh, they understand that. But it truly takes everybody. You know, Lamar does his job. You know, you got to get others around him to do their job consistently as well. Lamar has all the ability to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but he can't do it by himself.
Ed, we're going to put you on the spot. Since it's live TV, you're going to have to answer the question. Just talked a little bit Ravens. We talked a little Ravens. Who's going to get further this year? The Steelers or the Browns?
Man, that's funny. The Browns.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a very tough question because the Browns have been getting better every year. I honestly worked both of their games last year, and I thought Cleveland would win those games, but Pittsburgh still hung around, man. And there's something about those Steelers and that organization that stays consistent, and they always figure it out. They even had a chance last year as the season seemed like it was crumbling, So that's going to be a battle. Truly going to be a battle, but I got to pick Cleveland, man. I'd just rather see them win.
The hatred for the Steelers runs so deep that you can't.
No, it's not that. It's not that at all. It's just I just like what they've been building, and I got a little connection with some of those guys over there. I remember when I talked to their rookie class, So just as a football fan, I want to see them be good.
Ed, tell me this: who would you want no parts of tackling right now?
Ooh, there's a couple guys that's on that Tennessee team that's going to give a lot of people in the NFL trouble this year, from the backfield to the receivers. So there's a lot of guys. I wouldn't want to see Aaron Donald with the ball. I know he's on offense, but that guy there is a true monster. But come on, that Henry guy running that ball over there.
King Henry,
Who
was the toughest in your day, Ed?
The toughest? Oh, my God. There was a guy from Michigan State that played running back, Terrell Duckett, TJ Duckett. The Giants had Jacobs, who was a monster.
Thunder and lightning.
And one of the best nicknames, a Hall of Famer, Max, the Bus.
Oh,
yeah, sure, the Bus. It's a great one. You're
there
right.
We go. It came full circle.
We go all-time nicknames. You're right.
Yeah.
The Bus is tough to beat. No question about it.
Man.
We had, it was just yesterday, wasn't it, Molly? On yesterday's show, the question was asked of Marshawn Lynch, who reminds him of his running style. It's interesting you bring up Derrick Henry. That was one of the dudes. But he named both guys on Cleveland. Both guys, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt on Cleveland.
And yeah, those guys over there. That's why I like that tandem, man. That's a good tandem over there, no doubt about it, in Cleveland. And Marshawn, how could I forget Marshawn? Marshawn is definitely somebody who I still don't want to tackle.
And that's also the answer to the nickname.
Tackle when we played. I'm like, Marshawn, run out of bounds, man.
That's also the answer to the nickname. Beast mode. Come on.
Yeah, we were not on our A game.
No, I should have had one loaded if I was going to ask that question.
He said in the league now. He didn't say back then.
That's true.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, I want to ask you this because you had some good battles against the Patriots. What do you think of their squad? Do you think they could do some damage this year?
I thought they was going to do damage last year. You can never count Coach Belichick out with athletes. I don't care. He's shown over the years it don't matter who he has. Guys over there have to obviously be more consistent doing their job. I don't know if they learn to know the system or not. Being cohesive as a group, you haven't seen that. They need some help up front for Cam. Cam has to do better. So it's a lot. It's a lot that they have. I think they can turn it around, though, but, that division is getting tougher.
Absolutely. And obviously solidifying who the quarterback's going to be. All right, Ed, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for being with us. Again, kudos to you on everything you're doing with the park, the playground, all of that. And I hear you got cigars too, so you can hook a girl up for summer barbecue. You can send those right over.
I got you.
Okay.
I got you. I got to give a shout out to my Hall of Fame brothers, Edrin James, University of Miami, Troy Polamalu, and the great Sheriff Peyton Manning going in next week. So shout out to all the Hall of Famers.
That's quite a class.
Absolutely. Much, much deserved. All right, Ed, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Be safe.
Safeties
Y'all be blessed.
Okay. Tune in all week to SportsCenter and NFL Live for exclusive ratings reveals. Madden Week continues tomorrow on First Take with Alex Smith live on the show, breaking down the top 10 quarterback ratings in Madden 2022. Don't miss it. Tom Brady is a Boston legend. Matt Damon is choose between rooting for their 7-time Super Bowl winning quarterback, well, actually 6 with New England, and then Boston superfan and actor Matt Damon has already chosen his side. Matt?
He's Matt Damon, actor, producer, screenwriter, and Tom Brady apologist, it says here.
Apologist? I don't apologize for anything. Listen, I love that guy. I make no apologies.
Okay, if the Bucs played the Patriots in the Super Bowl, who would you root for?
Tom Brady.
Sounds
Okay.
like a Tom Brady apologist.
Max, I love this comment. Max Kellerman, do you love or hate Damon's comments?
No, I like it. But I understand what it means. It means that the team did, and I think a lot of Patriots fans will feel this way, the team did Brady dirty. The team was in the wrong. Brady proved it because Mike makes right, and he went out and won a Super Bowl, right? And they were left outside the playoffs. And guys, it reminds me, gather round. Uncle Max will tell you a story from the 80s. When Reggie Jackson, Marcus, one of my childhood athletic heroes, Steinbrenner didn't re-sign him. He signed with the Angels. He came back and hit a home run off of Ron Guidry, who was my favorite pitcher in 1982, right? Now, I loved Reggie, but I loved Guidry too. I was happy Reggie hit the home run. I cheered for him, but I was rooting against the Angels. Here, Matt Damon's saying he's going to be rooting against the Patriots. You can't do that.
That's why I don't like it. You like it, I don't like it. All right, listen, I'm about to introduce the world to my fandom. I am a New Orleans Pelicans fan of the team in basketball. I'm from Louisiana. I'm so happy that team is there. Love when we got Zion, hated when AD left, all right? But I'm a LeBron James fan. Both of you know that. LeBron James is my favorite basketball player ever to play the game. But if LeBron playing the Pelicans, I'm hoping the Pelicans going to win a championship. That's what it boils down to. As long as LeBron not playing the New Orleans Pelicans, which we don't think he will be.
Yeah. Fortunately, you'll never be faced with that choice, Marcus.
I'll never be faced with that choice. But if that choice was available, I'm still going with the New Orleans Pelicans. And here's the reason why, Max. Because your affinity to the organization should be based on the history and the things that this organization is going to do going forward. We all got our great players. Listen, everywhere Reggie White went, I wanted that team to win. All right, I was a Reggie White fan, unless they played the San Francisco 49ers. Because I was
all over the place.
I was a San Fran.
The Pelicans, the Niners, LeBron James.
My team was the San Francisco 49ers.
Just stick to
a lot of that had to do with Jerry Rice, but I was a fan of the team. I was a fan of that. That is who I rooted for. But the bottom line is, I'm not going to have my cell phone TV rooting against the place I got to go. Okay, so if I'm a Louisiana guy and a team from Louisiana who I am a fan of is playing against my favorite player of all time, friendship or no friendship, my friend
but Matt
is going to
Damon don't live in Boston. He lives in L.A.
It's a friendship, though, that's taking precedence over the team that he roots for. Yeah. I'm not doing that in the level of competition. I don't like it, Max.
You ever live in San Francisco?
I don't like it.
You ever live in San Francisco? You ever play in San Francisco? Go to school in San Francisco?
Can't afford it. Only you, Stephen A. and Molly can afford it.
Look at you rooting for the Niners.
Please, you're probably up in Silicon Valley working on some apps. I wonder what Patriots fans would say, though, outside of Matt Damon. I wonder if Patriots fans would actually be rooting for Tom Brady. I'm going to say no. And if you look at the same thought experiment with Peyton Manning, right, when he left, you think Colts fans are still rooting for Peyton?
I think they want the player to do well, but their team to beat the player. That's how it's supposed to go.
That's how it's supposed to be. And you talking about you like it. I don't like it.
But Tom's like a unicorn. I mean, Tom's different than everybody else.
I don't give a damn about Tom
Keep
being
it together
different.
on national television over Tom Brady.
You think the bad
He's a magical unicorn.
He's like a different deal. There's Tom Brady, and then
I see spark. I see an aura around him.
And then there's
if you look really hard, you could see an aura.
No, you're turning it into that. You know what it is. I mean, LeBron James could be in that category. There's a couple other people.
Or like Dave Chappelle talking about Prince or Rick James or something.
Yeah, some people
Do you want to
will
talk
take
about
their
Tua,
player.
or would you rather keep talking about Tom Brady? All right, we'll talk about Tua.
It was kind of fun.
Okay. Tua Tagovailoa, I still can't say his name, is entering his second year with the Dolphins, but big implications could be on the line after an offseason of rumors about the team being all in on their 2020 first-round pick. Here's Tua on practicing for the season.
So, let's touch on a couple picks. Could you assess some of your good and bad throws?
Yeah. I would say with the bad throws, a lot of miscommunication on one of them. I think that's definitely my fault. I was in a conundrum of throwing it up or coming back down to the back. But unfortunately, that's how the cookie crumbled on that one. But it's good. That things like that happen right now. We can see it. Go back into the film room. Talk about it with our guys, the receivers, the tight ends, and running backs, and kind of get that fixed.
Marcus, he's saying all the right things. Seems like
he's no unicorn, is he, Molly?
Can I look? I hate everyone. Okay, that's all I have to say.
To
It's been a long show. What?
To answer the question, Molly, no, he's not. This is not a make or break. I don't feel like that.
I didn't even ask him, but thank you.
Yeah, for a guy that's in his second year that had to split time with who everybody think gonna be the league MVP in Ryan Fitzpatrick in Washington.
Marcus really lost it. Yeah, it's a make or break season for Tua.
Do you have anything to say?
Tua's not a made guy. He needs to have a big season this year.
Tua's got to stick
this year.
Keep it together, Max.
Unicorn.